Hey everybody, welcome to Watches with Dennis, and we're doing a Saturday live stream because I thought it would be interesting to do. And I hope everyone who is in the US had a good Thanksgiving. We're obviously a couple of days past the Thanksgiving holiday, depending on how you think of it, because a lot of people kind of do the Thursday all the way through the weekend. But thought we'd do a little bit of just sort of a fun topic for just a little while today before I get going with some other things. And that is in honor of Thanksgiving, we're going to talk about watch turkeys. Now, watch turkeys are are an interesting thing because, of course, it's going to depend on what your opinion is as terms of what constitutes a turkey. So let's get some definitions out of the way before we get going. And that would be, so what do I mean by watch turkey when I say it? And that is anything that's just sort of as a miss. So you could think of it as watch misses. They don't have to be ugly, but they could be. So it could be an aesthetic flaw, could be an issue with the pricing, it could be an issue with the approach of the watch, it could be an issue with something about the brand. Obviously, just any sort of thing. So that's what I mean by watch turkey. And these are obviously, like with anything subjective, totally fine for people to disagree with. So if you're watching live, feel free to comment. If you're like, no, Dennis, I think this is a great watch. This is not a turkey. This is an eagle. You got let it soar. Let the eagle soar. Don't let the turkey just gobble. Or of course, comments afterwards are welcome as well. Good morning, Kevin. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And we're just going to go ahead and get underway. I don't have a lot in the way of updates to say. Well, I guess I do. So let me go ahead and get the updates out of the way. I did release a review of the Glashütte Original Panamanic Lunar, an older reference, not the current references. But this is the one before the 2015 update. So I think they've had two eras. They've had like the 2003 to 2014 era, and then they've got what they've got going on currently, 2015 on. And then there are different dials in case materials and such, I think, throughout both periods. So anyway, that review is now up and available. I've also been working on a watch. Someone who consumed some of my pinball content sent me a watch, Citizen Eco Drive he found in a road, like it had been hit by a car. So I've been trying some case restoration. Like I have a polishing device and stuff. I've been trying to do. It's not going to be great. It's going to be like, I think I'm going to title the video "Baby's First Watch Restoration" or something, because it's that. I mean, in my defense, there's some deep gouges that I don't think are practical to truly polish out, but at least on the case back, it was something I've been getting some experience on. So anyway, my plan will be I'll throw a video up, no matter how bad it makes me look. I'll put a video up about it, just sort of like as a journey thing. It'll be a good snapshot. It's been a fun project to undertake. I've just been so busy doing other things that I get at it intermittently, and I have to keep ordering things from Esslinger. Like the crystal was damaged and I broke it taking it out anyway. So I needed to order new glass. I needed to order silicone for the gaskets. Hopefully the glass is the right size, but once you've shattered it into pieces on your desk, it's hard to know, those sort of things. So I've got my own turkeys going on here, but let's go ahead and let's start with the most expensive of the watch turkeys I want to talk about today. And that is actually De Bethune. Now, I was not particularly familiar with De Bethune until I started watching Watches Tonight, the one Tim Masso hosts, which is a really good show. And you can go and catch the recordings on the on Watchbox, which is a third-party seller of watches, which I've had a couple. Yeah, I think I've had two purchases through one directly through Watchbox, like I did a trade. And then one I think was actually through them, but I bought through eBay at one point. So I've used them a couple of times, but not for one of these. So De Bethune is, and I note it about Watchbox because they own De Bethune. Like they're a partial owner. I'm assuming they bailed them out. And looking at watches like this, I'm not surprised that a bailout was necessary. So as you can kind of see from the dial, this is commonly known as a Star Trek watch because they've kind of got the shape of the emblem of the Federation. And that's like the only good thing that I feel about this. And I know I hear these are great watches. I wish I could just click and zoom. Well, let me show you the pricing. So here's the used pricing that Watchbox has these for. All of these are six figures, except for the one I've loaded up, the regular DB28 without the tourbillon, but rather just the balance here zoomed in. That is what? Almost $80,000. And I hear these are very well engineered. I mean, we're talking This is easier to read than the De Bethune website, which says a lot about. Well, a lot of watch manufacturers, I think, have terrible websites. But so let's sort of explore this a little bit. So we've got this, it's titanium. It's 44 millimeters, so it's a pretty large watch. They've got this only 30 meters of water resistance, manual wind. I know these are very thin watches. I think they're under 10 millimeters thick, which being manual wind isn't particularly shocking. So that's going for it. But so okay, it's very avant-garde, right? That's the polite way we'll say it. It's avant-garde. Another way to say it is that it's not easy to read because of everything that it's got going on. And I don't think it's necessarily hard to read, but for me, this is a turkey because it combines several of the things I do not like about avant-garde style watches. One, it's got skeletonized elements, and I'm just not a fan of skeletonized watches in general. I think they're very hard to read. I think they've done a decent job here. At least they've got a really clearly defined minute track. But obviously, you knowing how to read a regular clock will allow you to read the time on this. But like, what is this? So I assume this part moves and this part moves, but I'm not sure. Like, is one? I'm assuming this is the minute hand. Is there a second hand on this? I'm unclear. I'm unclear without reading the details, and that's not a good sign. I like Star Trek. I watch all the current Star Trek shows, but I don't think I need Starfleet on my watch. And if I did, I definitely wouldn't want it in an $80,000 version of the watch. Titanium at $80,000 also. And bear in mind, that's the used price. They did not mark this up. I'm sure this goes for well over that new. It should be obviously it should be precious metal at this price point. This feels like De Bethune was like, we want to be Richard Mille, but you're not. And I don't like Richard Mille watches either, but at least they have Instagram hype behind them to drive the pricing up. This has nothing. I'm not surprised that Watchbox ended up buying them or buying a partial stake in the company. I'm assuming they needed it. The interesting thing is De Bethune as a company has other, I think, far more attractive watches. But these are the ones, like when I see De Bethune and I see an image pop up, this is what they show, or it's DB28 stuff. And it's like, it's just not working for me. So I think it's a turkey. I think if I was partial owner in De Bethune, I would go into the boardroom and I would say, this line is discontinued. You need to quit trying to make this a thing. Star Trek watches are not a thing. Stop it and start making some stuff that's less avant-garde and more traditional, and then build some success. And then you can experiment some more moving on down the line. But that's my impression. Feel free to comment if you love De Bethune watches. Do any of you own them? I mean, they're so expensive. You'd have to be pretty big into watches to want to go down this route just financially. So it'd be interesting. I don't know anyone personally who owns one. And I don't think I've ever had anyone write in telling me. I'm trying to think on any comments or emails. I don't think I've ever had anyone say, like, I've had people who own Pateks and like Nautilus and stuff, but not De Bethune. So I do think it's interesting. I'm going to put back on the screen share for Watchbox, but I do think it's interesting is when you go under brands and they list featured brands. Look at the featured brands here if you can see it. So Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Patek, FP Journe, Mosier, A. Lange & Söhne, Vacheron, Tudor, Omega, Grand Seiko, Cartier. De Bethune does not belong in this list. It is, I guess it's featured because you have partial ownership, because one of these things is not like the others. All these other ones are successful companies. You see the difference? All of these others are either ultra high horology or very, very popular consumer, like consumers love to buy Omega. Consumers love to buy Grand Seiko. So it makes sense those would be there. In terms of the independents, you've basically got small independents. You basically got De Bethune, Mosier, which is beloved by people, and FP Journe, which is its own hype brand at this point. But you might as well have MB&F in here if you're going to put De Bethune. But anyway, I'm muling a little bit, but hey, it's the Watch Turkey episode, so we get to talk about all the turkeys that we identified. Now, my next turkey, this one's very exciting, is one I just saw yesterday on Reddit. So apparently there's a man named Dave Portnoy. I believe he's involved with Barstool Sports. Like it's like a gambling thing, I think, through sports. I'm not familiar with him, but this was part of the Reddit write-up, and I looked him up before starting today. Well, guess he's put together a watch company where called Brick Watch Company. And one of the little, I guess, gimmicks or things they're doing to encourage people to buy is saying that they're going to donate 20% of the proceeds to support small businesses in need of financial assistance. I didn't see any more detail, but again, that was up on the watch page. They have a couple of watches. They have a quartz chronograph, but I'm going to focus on the mechanical watch. And this is a turkey. So they call this the Classic 22. So again, Brick Watch Company. Never heard of them before. It's been started up by someone that is not known for being a watch person, which again, not unusual. People get into it. That's fine. $2,400. And incidentally, that's both sizes. So it's available in a 42 and a 38. Look at how staid this watch looks. This is not an attractive watch to me. So it's not outright ugly, but I think it's a miss. First, it says always earned in this horrifically, I'm assuming it's the handwriting of the owner or something, script. It's hard to read. It doesn't fit. It doesn't look well. Brick Watch Company up here at the top in a very like Daniel Wellington-esque font. It doesn't work for me. The numerals are boring, but I guess fine. They kept the 3 in and wedged the date in as well, which I guess kind of works. I just don't like anything about it other than I guess the hands are okay. The watch is boring. The watch, and that's fine. I actually like a number of boring watches, but like the way these numerals do not scream classic elegance to me, but that's kind of this classic, like it's not avant-garde, right? This is not, I mean, let me rephrase. Obviously, it's not avant-garde, but it's not Art Deco either. I don't know what it is. It's bland. Look at how bland this is. And all right, so it's hard to see the movement, right? But it's unfinished, okay? This is not a finished move. This is a Sellita SW200-1. So they have a printed, laser, I don't know. It's not a fancy engraving. It's got the always earned on the exterior of the rotor and just as Brick Watch Company on the, so the rotor has their name on it, which is a common, right? It's common to get. It's common to get. The rest of this, I don't see any like machine turning or anything else. It's a display case back, ugly movement for $2,400. And what does it say? 316L stainless steel, normal. Sellita SW200-1 self-winding automatic, normal. And don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against the SW200. It can be it's a great workhorse movement, and you can decorate it if you want to, but they've chosen not to. Sapphire crystal with anti-reflective UV coating. Okay. At this price point, it has to be sapphire, right? We wouldn't expect anything else. A lot of people like the anti-UV, assuming it's interior. If it's on the exterior, it's going to scratch. Standard 100 meters of water resistance. Okay, that's fine. I love these additional features. They've already said that the movement is the SW200. So, of course, it's 26 joules. That's what it comes with. Of course, no battery is needed. It's automatic. So you can tell this is a watch designed for people who don't know anything about mechanical watches because the additional features are actually features that are not additional. They already were listed. This movement already says all of this. It's a 38-hour power reserve. Stop second function. I'm assuming that's the way they describe hacking, but it's not a good way to describe a date. The date was a part of the movement as well. And that it does have manual wind and self-winding with movement of this is being a little petty of me, but again, we're doing watch turkeys. I can be a little petty. Movement of your arms. It doesn't help to move the arm that the watch isn't on. It's not like you can flap your arms like a turkey, like this watch is a turkey, but it doesn't work. And a 3-year warranty. Okay. So not the most impressive warranty in the world either. And then there's a whole bunch of details about all this other stuff about how that the terms of the warranty. Okay. So $2,400, 38 millimeter or 42 millimeter, whichever size you prefer. I'm going to do a comparison now. I didn't do this with the Debethune because the Debethune was out of the price point of being worthy of any comparison. So let me bring up a watch, the Tudor 1926. Now, I didn't own this black dial version, but I owned one. I could have loaded the white dial version up, the opaline one, which is the one I did have because, again, this is kind of a silver white looking, it's a white dial silver case. So I probably should have done that one instead. So actually, let's go ahead and let's jump. They're the same price, so it doesn't matter. All right. This is a This is interesting. Hey, Critic Geek, welcome to the live stream. I'm going to pause for a minute. What do you think of Kudoke? I don't know the brand. I'm actually, I'm in my Google, so I can throw it up. We'll do a pause. We're gonna pause, folks. We got a question. Questions are far more interesting than me whining about turkeys. So let me screen. No, I don't have the screen share. And let me re-screen share here. What Critic Geek says. Okay, so this is German, huh? Okay, I have never now. What I know before is okay. I've seen this octopus one before. I don't care for skeletonized dials, so though this is very artistic. So I mean, kind of reminds me in a way of like how Mr. Jones watches are very very artistic. But you see, clean things are more my style. So as a brand, I'm just not familiar with it. Do they have more than just the two watches that I could look at? Like, I like the design of the octopus, but it wouldn't be a watch I would ever wear. But all right, so this is very minimalist. Germans generally go one of two ways in their watches. If I were to stereotype, which obviously I'm doing, one is that like Bauhaus movement, really stripped down design, but artistically like Young House and Nomos love to do this, right? They love Bauhaus movement inspired things. Then the other thing I've noticed that the Germans like to do is asymmetry, which is what I like more. So this one's like a mix in terms of it's very bare bones, but you've got this interesting approach with the small seconds over at the 9 o'clock position, which I respect in that it looks a lot different. Plus, the hands are pretty cool. So interesting, Critic Geek, with your what do I think overall? I think they're it's really interesting. I like these minimalist looks. Like this is a really cool moon phase too. I shudder to think what these pricing would be. Obviously, we're going to safely say I think out of oh, and the Germans also love 3/4 bridges, and this looks hand carved, so hand decorated things. Even if it's just something like the balance bridge or the balance cock, pretty common. And hey, Jason, welcome to the live stream. We've taken a sidetrack to look at Kudoke, which I'm sure I'm missaying because I'm saying it like it's Japanese, and since it's German, it's probably far more aggressive. Something like Kudoke. There, that's probably wrong too. And yes, minimalization in Germans, also the asymmetry that they tend to love, like we see out of Erlangenzona, Glashütte Original does it, and clearly Kudoke, at least to a small degree, going with something a little bit different. Very, very cool. What we're currently back to complaining about, though, is this brick watch company, Classic 22, and the abomination that is the price for what it is. And I do see DeRosa's with us. Hey, DeRosa, welcome to the live stream. Watchfinder and Co. did okay. I'll have to check out Watchfinder's video. I do follow them. I just haven't looked today. And so he says, went and checked out the website after that. Yeah, I saw something with the octopus somewhere. I don't know if it was a Watchfinder video. I don't think so. I think it was someone else that had pointed out just something like really cool, like avant-garde sculpting sort of stuff, which isn't my style, but it's really neat to see people do, like the AP Black Panther watch. Like, I think there are a lot of misses about that watch. I almost put it on my turkey list, but you can't say that the hand-carved Black Panther on it is not an impressive work of art, because it is. It's a very impressive skill set that went into that. And Orange Hand says that brick watch isn't just a bad deal, it's a scam. And this I pulled straight from the pages of Reddit, right? And that was sort of the angle they're going with, that it's done by that Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports. This is not a watch guy doing a watch thing. This is a ripoff designed to take people's money. You've got this. I did a Danielle Wellington font comparison. I don't think these numerals work with how this watch is laid out. I think it's a very bare bones watch. And at $2,400, even with this indication that they're giving 20% in some capacity to small businesses that need financial assistance, it's still ridiculous. It's ridiculous for an SW200-1 with what 100% True has said. Yeah, it looks sort of regular, right? It looks plain. It looks staid is the word I would often use for a watch like this. It looks staid. And I like staid, boring watches, but the way this is done is staid to the point of boring. And the comparison I was showing a black dial one earlier, but we were switching over. Let me show you my comparison for it. And this is a watch that I owned. So this is the Tudor 1926. I was hoping to get you a little bit closer here so you can get a sense. So this dial has texturing to it. Maybe I should go back to the black one. The black one, they had some other photos that I thought made it easier to see what I mean. So let's go back one. Yeah, they have more photos up for the black. They have some wrist shots. All right, here, this is what I mean. So again, stay it, right? Yeah, and I actually just recently sold my, because I have so many time plus date watches. I sold my Tudor, and it was the fastest watch I ever sold when I listed it on Chrono 24. But look at this. Basic stay-it design on the surface. Numerals better balanced with the other indices. Still got the date, but not this weird sticking the Arabic numeral in here as well and making it feel cramped. Instead, it feels well thought. Simple waffle texture to the black. Simple steel hands. This is a simple watch. Self-winding, thin too. This is under 10 millimeters thick. I don't know how thick this is. It doesn't say. But this watch, the Tudor 1926, it's $2,000 retail, and you can find this for hundreds less new. And I mean, I think when I bought mine, my unworn, it was a Joma Shop one. I think I paid somewhere between $1,400 and $1,500 for my white one. Incidentally, this is 41, not 42 millimeter. And as I noted, the brick one, it's $2,400 whether you want 42 or 38. If you don't want 41, you can get 39. It's $50 less. So, and you can save more also if you don't want it on the steel strap. But steel bracelet to steel bracelet, I'm trying to do the comparison. Now, here's the thing you'll see under the specs. This uses the caliber T601. So what is the T601? The T601 is the Sellita SW200-1. So again, SW200-1 is what's used in that brick watch. Tudor does the same movement, except they tune theirs to chronometer grade. It doesn't go in for COSC certification. However, it's basically top grade if it's ETA or premium or whatever they call it. So, and the one I had, it ran within, I have a time grapher and I put it on there and did did all 6 positions. And yes, it was in chronometer spec. So Tudor adjusts theirs. There's also some claimed other adjustments you can read, and that's what the text is here. But my point is, Tudor does stuff to their Sellita. They modify the Sellita SW200. They don't just plop in the bottom tier one. They take an upper tier one and they make it better, or they make sure they get the one that's upper tier, and maybe they just stick on their version of the Tudor rotor. But my point is, you're getting a better. Not all SW200s are created equal. There are like 4 tiers of them, and you're getting everything but the COSC certification. So my point is, in my long rambling way, this brick watch scam or whatnot it's a ripoff no matter how you look at it. $2,400 for no guarantee. Probably the base tier SW200 is a terrible deal. Buy yourself a Tudor, even at retail with no discount, and you can get a discount. These do not sell well. 1926 does not sell well. You can get a discount on this watch. Go ahead and check Joma Shop if you want to buy a new one, gray market. They got plenty of them. And you're going to get a better movement, even though it's based on the same thing. Great finishing. That dial looks really good under magnification or when you're looking at it up close. This texturing, it's a good watch. It's a very nice watch. So if you're just kind of looking for a generic sports watch and that sort of that Rolex Datejust vibe, do the Tudor instead. Trust me, it's a better watch and it's cheaper. It's cheaper. This is such a ridiculous miss. So 100% true. Sorry. Let me catch back up with chat. How many watches do you have and why did you sell it? All right. So how many do I currently have? I think I have something like 15 watches, I guess. And of all sort, like novelty watches up to, dress watches, sports watches, a mix, digital, quartz, mechanical, all combined. And why did I sell the Tudor 1926? I have another Tudor already. And one of the things I do in my collection is I like brand diversity. So that was part of the reason it was on the chopping block. And then I have other time plus date watches. Like I have a Grand Seiko that does time plus date, and I don't have any other Grand Seikos. So it's like, do I need the Tudor when I also have a Black Bay bronze? No, I don't. Let it go and free up space for a watch that I don't own, a brand that I don't own. So that's why I did it. So Let's see. Oh, Orange Hand says Tudor quality is probably 10 times that of the Brick. I love the name the Brick because you're gonna call it the Brick, even though the watch itself is called the Classic 22. Which let me bring it back up. There's nothing 1922 about the watch, though. Does it mean 22 like 2022? Because this also isn't a current design. Like, I don't know what this is. It's not 20. There's nothing 22 about this. Like, it's not. Did they think this is Art Deco? It's not. It's not Art Deco. I don't know. Guys, I don't know. What's happening here? I don't understand. All right. I don't understand. DeRosa, how was your Joma Shop experience? They have discounted higher end brands that make them worth considering versus an AD. I've always had a perfectly good experience with Joma Shop. I have purchased, I think, 2 watches from them, and I've bought a couple other things through that. Like I bought a wallet through them. I bought someone a Christmas gift, my mom a Christmas gift through them. No, the main thing with Joma Shop to bear in mind is you won't be getting, at least in most instances, you won't be getting the manufacturer's warranty with the watch. Joma Shop offers a 2-year warranty, I think, by default. But again, they're unworn products. But just bear in mind that if you really want like a really long-term warranty, that's something to consider. And as a case in point, that was something else I wanted to go ahead and point that reminded me. So thank you, DeRosa. Their 3-year warranty for this brick, for the brick is so Tudor. If you were to buy it direct from Tudor, it's 5-year and it's transferable. So if you give the watch to someone else or sell it or whatnot, you can, if you buy it off, buy it through an AD, an authorized dealer, the warranty transfers with the watch. So again, but I've never had to send in my Joma Shop watches. I bought the 1926 was my Joma Shop watch, and I'm trying to think what other watch did I get through them that I know there was one. I'm blanking right now. It was another luxury watch though. I'm pretty sure. No, I've been watching no, maybe not. I've watched a number of them there because usually I use them. I use Joma Shop pricing when I shop used because I'm not willing to pay more used than what Joma Shop's selling a watch for. So, because it's like, I'll get it unworn if I buy it through Joma Shop. I like this orange hand. This is good. 22 is the number of sales they're hoping for. And 100% True asks, why do you think it's important for a man to wear a watch? I don't think it's important. It's totally stylistic and up to you. Some people wear it for fashion purposes. I wear a watch because I wore a watch ever since I was in middle school. I'm totally in the habit of it. If you want like a logical reason to wear a watch, doesn't matter if it's a Casio on up to Debethune turkey that we did earlier. It would be, if I pull out the phone to check the time, I'm not just going to check the time. I'm going to see my email alerts and I'm going to feel compelled to read them. I'm going to see any text messages. I'm going to feel compelled to read them. If I don't want to have more screen time, I'd rather have the watch, just glance at the watch and say, oh, okay, that's what time it is. And then I don't force myself to fall down the rabbit hole of consuming my electronic device for the next 5 minutes. So that's part of the reason why I still wear a watch. But it's not important. It's totally, I don't, I guess maybe being in the, doing watch content on YouTube, I should be telling people you should wear a watch. I don't care if you wear a watch or not. That's totally up to you. It's not right. It's neither right nor wrong. It's just a choice. Speaking of choices, I'm going to go to maybe my most controversial turkey. So we did the DB28 Debethune turkey, super ultra expensive avant-garde watch. I guess I can throw it back up here so everyone can see what I was talking about. With a cool Star Trek symbol, but at used, these are going for $80,000. And Debethune had to get, I think I assume it got bailed out with Watchbox buying part of them. Turkey. And then we got the Brick Watch Company, Classic 22, scam turkey, possibly. Allegedly. Don't sue me. Allegedly. So, all right. This one got a lot of play because there's a Kickstarter. It's this Yema, the French manufacturer. This is their wristmaster, and all the links are in the video description if you want to go and see the Debethune or the brick or this. There's a link to this Kickstarter. So Yema has been around for a while now. I believe they've used Kickstarter before. I've never owned a Yema, so bear that in mind. The reputation of Yema online is, I know a lot of people love the look of their Superman watch, which I think is a dive watch, but their customer service has, let's just say, been described as leaving a lot to be desired. This launched a while ago. This Kickstarter did, and it is to do what they call the Wristmaster, which incidentally is a terrible name. It's like, are you the Wristmaster? No, I am the Strap Keeper. That's a Ghostbusters reference for anyone too young to get it. But I hate that name, Wristmaster. A Wristmaster Traveler Micro Rotor Limited Edition, and it's like, okay, the Kickstarter was to finance them to develop and build really. They'd already come up with this micro rotor. And I mean, spec wise, I get it, right? All right. So we're talking a 39 millimeter watch. You get 9.2 millimeters ultra thin. Well, interesting to say ultra thin. 9.2 millimeters, incidentally, is is around the thickness of the 39 millimeter Tudor 1926. So okay. 43.5 millimeter lug to lug. So it is a compact watch, micro rotor, decent accuracy, good power reserve, out at a 3-year warranty again. Okay. 100, whatever. It's a perfectly fine watch. This is not new technology though, guys. This is why I'm turkifying this. All right. This is a turkey to me because they're asking people to help fund them to develop a micro rotor. Chinese micro rotors are readily available already. So why do they have to make their own? Because they want to I get it. They want to, but why should I want to finance it? Like, why should I want to Kickstarter them making a micro rotor? Micro rotor movements are cheap and they're all over the place. There are a couple of different Chinese versions I have seen that were versus the specs on the movement were 1/10 of a millimeter thicker than what Yima was shooting for. So, okay. But I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I'm saying I don't think they should do it through Kickstarter. Another thing that I don't care for, and they really emphasize it in the marketing, and I get it, it doesn't look unattractive. None of these pictures, I'm clicking on these pictures, and they're not zooming. So, is the finishing strategy. There we go. Zoom in a little bit so you can get kind of a look at this. All right. So they're advertising how the dial will match the movement because this is a display case back, so you can see the rotor. All right. Cool little micro rotor. Nice thing about micro rotors, for those not familiar, is they get integrated into the movement. So they're not like a regular rotor, which sits on top. So that helps get the thickness down. Now, the issue is micro rotors, though, because they're so small, they have to spin around a lot. That's my spin around effect to wind the watch as much as a regular rotor would. So they usually make them out of something really heavy. So I think they've done tungsten is what they went with, which is a good material to choose for something that's not expensive, but would add you a lot of weight to the micro rotor. I should have reread this earlier so I could figure out where to find all this stuff. But anyway, but this is also like powder coat. So here's it's not special. And that's okay that it's not. I just don't like them pretending that it is. So in pinball, we powder coat stuff all the time. You can get a whole, like the side rails and lock bar and coin door powder coated for a couple $100 on a pinball machine, third party style. So this is not like hand finishing. That's rather than it looking like boring steel, they have made it more attractive by like spraying it with powder coat, or it looks like powder coat to me. It's not like it's hand finished. So but they're emphasizing that it's special when it's not. It's different though. And I do think it looks better than plain, but I just don't, to me, this is a miss. If this was a watch that just wanted to sell, I think it's fine. If it's a watch they want to Kickstarter, I'm really bothered by it because the pricing on this isn't. So the watch is going to retail for about 3,000 euro. So assume around equivalent US dollars. And obviously it's not remotely that much if they're offering all the Kickstarter people half off to 1,500. So I just don't get it. 100% True says, I feel that a watch doesn't really do much whether you wear it or not, but it does tell the world that you're about business. Yeah, it all depends. I really like wearing a G-Shock, for example, digital Casio watch when I'm biking because then I can just glance over. So there's in certain instances, I find it highly practical because I can't physically access any other time telling thing. And I'm wondering, have I been out here an hour yet, or how long am I taking? Those sort of instances, yes. And then other things like my dress watches I have, those are for business, like literally for business. So I work for a nonprofit. When I'm going and having meetings and stuff, if I'm wearing a suit, I'm wearing a dress watch. And that's a stylistic choice. I know you wouldn't get judged the same way you'd get judged if you showed up in a suit and you didn't wear a tie. But it's part of the standard, I guess you could say. And orange hand notes, customer service, but they're French. Surprise. It's weird. And a lot of watches have to go in for servicing. I don't know if it's disproportionate to other brands, but Yima just has, go and check Watch You Seek or just search for Yima reputation, and you'll see they don't have a good reputation. Not so much on the build quality, more like if you're having a problem with their watch, like they seem reluctant to want to deal with it. I don't know. Again, I've not owned one before. I've never found their designs overly attractive to me. The Superman's okay, but there's so many classic dive watches. Like I'd rather have a Zodiac or something versus a Yema. But so I'm turkifying it mostly because of not the look of the watch or anything, but rather that they asked for a Kickstarter to develop a micro rotor, which looks a lot like other developed micro rotor movements to me. Didn't really advance the needle and horology in any meaningful way. Just let them have their own proprietary in-house built on the backs of people before getting, instead of doing what I think, and I hate Kickstarter. I've never funded a Kickstarter. If I was a business, I'd probably look at it, but as a person, I never fund Kickstarter. And the issue I have is rather than like saying we're going to develop this and we're going to sell the watches and prove that the technology was worth it by making those sales, instead, they're like, we're going to get it all pre-funded by people because we're not sure. This is a gamble. We're not sure that this is enough to actually move the unit. So we'll do the Kickstarter to make sure it's all safe. Basically get 0% loans from a bunch of people and do it that way. And I just think I just don't like the look. I think it's, especially for Yema, a brand that is as established as they are, they shouldn't have to resort to Kickstarter like some newbie. I think this was a coward move, and I think that they do it because they want to play it safe, and they don't want to get normal loans, and they don't want to bring on equity partners, and so they trick people into funding them. That's how I see it. And I know that's a hard take, but that's outside of startups with Kickstarter. When I see it, I'm always like, really? Do you have to? You're too scared to go out and produce a certain number. You're basically doing pre-orders. So do pre-orders and don't do it through Kickstarter. I don't know, because I'm whining again. But and then and we'll powder coat it to match the dial. No one cares. Well, maybe you do if you're buying it, but otherwise, no one cares. I don't expect my movements to match my dials. That would matter if it was a skeletonized dial, which I'm glad they didn't do because I hate those two. So anyway, so those are my turkeys, my post-Thanksgiving turkey watches. And that's all the content I really had for us to walk through. So unless there are other questions, I don't have any new watches to present to think about. In terms of like stuff to look at, based off of the discussions of things and interest, if you're looking at other sort of simple watches, kind of like that brick, or more, let's not reference the brick, like the 1926, for example. There are a lot available. If you like the minimalist look in particular, Junghaus offers some very affordable Bauhaus designed watches. You can get them a retail under $1,000 last I checked. If you want something with more finishing and stuff, I would say take a look at Nomos. If you want to go the German route and explore that. And then of course, the Japanese have a lot of watches that are, kind of in those various realms. Oh, I do see that there is a query. So 100% true. Asks, have you ever given a watch as a gift? Yes, I have. I've given several. So I'm trying to think in terms of ones I have done. One is I used to own a rotary watch. It was a Super 7 dive watch. I've reviewed it on this channel. It was in my first state of the collection. If you want to also see it there. Or you can just search rotary on the channel and you can see my review of it. But I gifted that to a friend of mine who has a lot larger wrist than me. So it was a watch I wore. And then I felt I had too many dive watches. And so it was Christmas time. And I was like, I think this will fit. He's like over an 8.5 inch wrist or something. I was like, I think this will fit him. And it was very, very bulky for me. So I gifted him that. Then the person who designed my little Watches with Dennis logo, he didn't ask any. He's someone I know through pinball, and he didn't ask anything to do that design. He just did it. So I mailed him Vostok Komodorsky watch I used to own. I think I have the review of the Vostok as well. I have a view. I know I have a video of it when I regulated it because it wasn't very accurate. So I opened it up. It was the first watch I ever opened up to regulate myself, and adjusted it to get it more accurate. And so I sent that. I sent that to him as a gift, and that I think those two are the two that I thought I had a third one that I gifted out to someone, but I'm blanking right now. I'm blanking on the third one. So anyway, yeah, two or three. So, well, no, these aren't like 1926s. Those go up on Chrono 24 and get sold. So, but yeah, no, it's buying a watch for someone as a gift is tricky. So obviously these were watches that I had already committed that I was interested in. And then when I wasn't interested in having the watch anymore, I decided, you know what, I'd rather give this to someone. And versus, oh yeah. And my mom, that's the third one. I bought her, okay, I guess I did go up. Granted, it was my mom. So I bought her a Rolex a few years ago. So yes, I guess I did go. It was a used one though. This was back before they were more used than they were new. Bought her a used one. So let's see. Have you seen, asks Orange Hand, hot lens? I don't know how to say it. And the brand is owned by Mosier. I do not know the name of it. Orange. I'm trying to say, I've never owned a watch. I like this Omega. What Omega is this in your, oh, you can't see if I'm moving my mouse. Orange, what Omega is in your profile picture with the orange hands? I've seen it before, but I don't know it. Because I was going to say, I've never had an orange hand watch. I've had an orange dial watch. That rotary watch was an orange dial watch. But let's pop this up. So hot lens. So it's owned by Mosier, huh? I mean, Mosier, interesting company. Oh, okay. Wow. I have seen the Vagabond. Okay. I didn't know who did it. All right. So are they really into like these sort of squarish watches? I like this Invictus. It's like, are we sending a message? I got to click on it. Are we sending a message to Invicta with that? Invictus. It feels like it. Mosier, incidentally, is an independent company. They have some beautiful Fume dials. The Fume sort of smoked color effect. If you ever want to go and get a look at them, pricey. I mean, not totally obscene. Like you can find a lot of Fume Mosier between 10 and 20,000. So serious commitments, but not like Patek or anything. But Mosier's got a sense of humor. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hot Lens does as well. Because Mosier's, I mean, they made a watch out of cheese to make fun of how Swiss made watches were nowadays and things like that. What a weird watch. Definitely not my style, but square watches are very polarizing for me. Like I like certain types, like rectangular ones, like the Tank and Reverso. I like the Santos with Cartier, but like the Monaco doesn't. It's a cool watch, but doesn't speak to, like I'd have no interest in owning a Monaco, or these, for example. But okay, wow, really, I'm scrolling, kind of looking at to see the price, but I know it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. And so let's see, 100% true. How would you react if your favorite watch brand liked and asked you to partner with them? I don't know how I would react. This isn't my, like, I'm not trying. YouTube is for fun. So I have a career. I studied in public administration. I run a nonprofit. That's my career. I don't want this to be my career. So I mean, I guess I'd explore what they mean by partner to figure out if it was something I was willing to do. But one of the things I've always done with this channel, and granted, it's such a small channel, it's not been hard to do, but is I've kept it completely independent. I haven't done partnerships. I'd probably be willing to do something like if they would loan me, you know, I still want to have independence. So if I could, what I'd like is if I could have watches loaned to me, but I give them back. I don't want to keep the watch and sell it because no one can trust your review once you do that, no matter how objective you make it. And you can still make your reviews objective, but no one can trust you is on it. You'd be honest, like Jody with Just One More Watch. He's very honest and I think he tries really hard to be objective. It's just everyone will always wonder in the back of their mind, because you're making money from the company, whether you pulled your punches. And so I think you could still be, as long as I wasn't getting any money and I didn't get to sell the watch and I just borrowed them. I think that's how media normally works, right? So that would be my interest. But Orange Hand says to look up their pinball watch. Is it called pinball? Can I search? How does their site? Their site's too fancy pants for me. Help me. Is it under novelties? Is it under linear? I don't know what's happening. It says subscribe to the newsletter. I want to subscribe to where's the magnifying glass? How do I search? This is weird. All right, let me search. Let me use Google. Cutlass pinball. Okay, there we go. I think we're okay. Oh, I've never seen this. All right. So obviously from the playfield behind my head, you can tell that I host a couple of pinball podcasts. A lot of long-term listeners have probably heard me reference pinball ad nauseum. Okay, so this is fairly clever. All right, so they got the plunger effect here on the right, a couple pop bumper sets with bonuses. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Spinning disc. Those aren't used all that often in pinball. So what does it do? Does it shoot the balls or something? Or does it just look like this? The bottom part's very pachinko rather than pinball, but the rest of this looks very much like you would often expect, or more like an old school pinball pre-flipper. So flippers came about in 1948. The one on my wall is from 1946, so it doesn't have a spot for flippers. You would just plunge it, and you'd use nudging to try and get what you want. 31,000. Okay, it's not as bad as I feared it would be. Oh, and limited does just 18 pieces. Okay, I might have to share this one. Thank you for telling me, Orange Hand. I might have to share this one with some of my pinball Discord people so that they can take a look at it. There are a couple other pinball watches, incidentally. I think Invicta makes one, which is as garish as the name would imply. And then there's Ricochet. If you've not seen, I have a Ricochet. I have one of the. I had it when it came out from Mr. Jones Watches, which Mr. Jones Watches does artists, non-watch people really develop a watch design, and then it becomes a watch. It's usually kind of hard to tell the time on them. This is the non-limited, the one that you can now buy. And they were doing a Black Friday sale, incidentally, if you're curious about it. But so these are actually metallic foil, and they catch the light incredibly well. And then if you're curious about how this watch works, and this is only like a couple $100 watch. This is a jump hour. So, and this is a disc. The minutes are a disc in 5-minute increments. So the disc goes around, so it's 25, 30, 35. And then when you get back to the zeros, the 10 jumps to 11. So very, very cool watch. And I have the limited one has a different background, and then there's a disc that kind of flickers here, but otherwise it's the same thing. So I do have a video review of it if anyone wants to look at it. I get it to play with the light a lot. So if you're curious about how Ricochet looks in the light, you can see that. Actually, let's see what the pricing was low. All right, so it's $365. They were doing a Black Friday sale. I don't know if Ricochet was part of it. I think it was. I don't know if it's still going on or not. But anyway, under 400. So that's a very neat watch. But as you can tell by the size of those discs, I only wear it for like fun, because I tried to wear it around more often, because why not? I've gotten more compliments on my Ricochet sub $400 watch than any other watch I've ever owned. But it's very hard to read the time, and there's no loom, and not even in a dark room, in a dim room, I can't see the hours at all. It's too inset for the jump. It's like all Longenzona's big date. It's stepped, and the hours are lower than the minutes. It's very hard to read the time. It just doesn't take up much of the dial, as you can tell from the picture. This much is dedicated to time telling. The rest of it's just art. So it's really challenging to read the time. And Orange has answered my query and says his avatar is a Speedmaster Mark II from 1971. Okay, interesting. All right, and there are videos. All right, I will have to pull those up. The pinball people love to see the pinball watches, and then they they don't buy very many of them, I don't think. Some people, I've had, I think 3 people ask me, or maybe suggest to me, that I should buy the Invicta pinball one. I'm like, I've never owned an Invicta, and I'm not inclined to change that. As funny as it is, like, I think the Ricochet might be enough for me for my pinball watches. But I do co-mingle my hobbies a bit, but they don't need to be that co-mingle. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video today. Thanks everyone for. I was surprised people showed up on a Saturday. I just figured this would be one people would catch in recording, but I guess I did it late enough in the day, but early enough before you had to do anything important. So I hope everyone in the U.S. had a great Thanksgiving. Hope the rest of you have been having a really good weekend, and I'll talk to you next time. And until then, take care, everybody, and I'll see you later.